Hello, I'm Will and this is Mike, we're the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And in this video we'll be looking at issue 59 of Warhammer 40,000 Combat Patrol with magazine, which came with a Boomdakka Snazzwagon, the bonus unit for the Orks Combat Patrol with this collection. We'll be seeing how to build and paint that up, and then pitting it against the Space Marine Chaplain in a deadly race in our game. Starting up in the issue, we have the build guide for the Boomdakka Snazzwagon. This is quite a complicated kit and it has quite a lot of interior detail, so you'll probably want to assemble this in a number of sub-assemblies, which you then put together after you've painted them, otherwise you won't be able to get the brush in. But we actually begin with the two grot crew, one of whom is chained to the front of the vehicle, and the engine block. But then this is the point where you might start to consider not gluing certain bits on. If you want to make the painting very easy, you could not glue on any of the side panels or roll bars or anything, but then do bear in mind you might have to scrape some paint off again in order to glue these parts on later. So there's a bit of a trade-off. The wheels, likewise, you might want to leave off for painting. And then the driver, in fact, you might have to keep the arms separate as well, because if you make the driver outside the vehicle with the arms on, you then can't get it in because one of the arms sticks out through the window. Similarly, the gunner on the top benefits from being kept separate, as well as the roof piece. So you'll be able to get the brush in and paint the interior. And finally, this is the final assembly guide, but it does show you the 4 suggested sub-assemblies. Of course, if you're not really that fussed about painting the interior, because you can't really see it that well anyway, you could just put it all together at this point. Then the painter guide, it does mention those 4 sub-assemblies. It also suggests using some sticky tack in order to mask off the points where you're going to want to glue the things together in the end, so you don't get paint on them by accident. Otherwise, you just have to scrape the paint off again. But it suggests doing an all-over base coat of Abaddon black. This will probably take quite a while because you'll need to get the brush into all of the crevices inside, and then dry brush the whole thing with lead belcher. You can then add more lead belcher to certain places if you want a stronger metal colour. And then, although the magazine has so far told us to paint Goth Orks, it does suggest painting all of the panels of the Snazzwagon with Mephiston red, because obviously red vehicles go faster as far as Orks are concerned. The crew are painted the same as the other Orks we've got so far, with Fatchan flesh, Auric flesh, and some Screamer pink. Wraithbin for the teeth, Avalon Sunset for a barrel, McCrag blue for a couple of areas, including the bottles of the Molotov cocktails that the Orks are throwing, and then we're doing the shades, so shading almost everything with Nuln oil, but also some Agrax Earth shade in places for a different tone on some of the metalwork, Coelia green shade for the Orc skin, a bit of Rifle flesh shade as well. Then relayering the Orc skin with Auric flesh, Calgar blue for the blue bits, and as a highlight for the black bits, and Stormhost silver for some of the more prominent metal parts. Wouldn't recommend edge highlighting the entire vehicle because that will take you a very long time. And then dry brush the tyres with Mechanicus standard grey over the black. Oh, and then finally you'll want to glue it together, although bear in mind this isn't actually the finished vehicle, there'll be a couple more painting steps to come in future issues, so you might want to hold off, or maybe only assemble it temporarily. And then it has a large base as well, which you'll want to base in the usual manner. And that's almost it for this issue. We've just got its collection article. Boomdakka Snazzwagons are fast buggies with heavy firepower that are driven around by crazed Ork Speed Freeks who love nothing more than going fast, making a lot of noise, and throwing flaming cocktails onto enemies as they pass by. As usual, you can give it a background and record its name and its deeds. And finally, its datasheet, which I'll leave to Mike to go over as he takes us into our game where the Snazzwagon is going to be involved in a dangerous race.
So before we get into today's game, we can have a look at the datasheet for our new Boomdakka Snazzwagon. So it's got a 12-inch move, toughness 7 with a 4+ armor save and a 6+ invulnerable save, 9 wounds, leadership 7 and an OC of 3. It has 3 range weapons, a big shooter which is rapid fire 2, 36-inch range, attacks 3, hit on 5, strength 5, AP01 damage. The Grot Blaster, which is a pistol, a 12-inch range, 1 attack, hitting on a 4 because it's a Grot shooting it and they're better than Orks, strength 3, AP01 damage. And the Mech Special, which is assault, rapid fire 4 and sustained hits 1 with a 24-inch range, 12 attacks base, hitting on 5, strength 5, AP -1 damage. And bear in mind, as a vehicle, it does mean it can fire its pistol all the time, not just when it's in melee. And for its melee weapons, it has its spiked wheels, which have 4 attacks, hitting on 4, strength 7, AP -2 damage. And for its other abilities, it has the Deadly Demise 1 rule, the War rule for the Orks, and its own ability is Billowing Fumes, which is an aura. So while enemy units, excluding monsters and vehicles, are within 6 inches of the Snazzwagon, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, subtract 1 from the hit roll. And to use it in games of Combat Patrol, because this is the bonus Ork unit, you replace the Death Copters. And so we get into today's game, which will be a bit different from our usual games. This one is called the Speed Freak, where the crew of a Boomdakka Snazzwagon are out in some desolate wasteland and they spot a Space Marine Chaplain in the distance and they go off and challenge him to a race. The victory conditions, it says here, is if the Snazzwagon can complete 3 full laps of the track before their vehicle is destroyed, they win. Otherwise, if the Chaplain is able to destroy the Snazzwagon, then the Space Marines win. And here you can see 2 battle mats set out to form the track. So the white area is the racetrack, the checkered area is the finish line, the green area is the starting block, and there's some few bits of terrain around. But basically everything that's not the track, so all the terrain and anything not considered part of the track, is impassable terrain. Both players deploy their vehicles in the starting block and they progress anti-clockwise. And there's a few different rules, so there's only 3 phases in this game: the movement phase, the shooting phase and fight phase, so no command or charging. In the movement phase, the unit can move normally or it can supercharge. If you move normally, you can always shoot. If you supercharge, you roll a d6 and you consult the tables, and this replaces the normal advanced rules, and also units can freely move in and out of engagement range without having to fall back or charge. So if the Orks supercharge on a 1, they slow down and reduce their movement by d3. The 2 or 3, they speed up and increase it by d3 but can't shoot. 4 to 5, they speed up even more and increase their movement by d6 but can't shoot. And on a 6, they are infused with the power of the War and increase their movement by d6 and can still shoot. And the Space Marines have basically the same table. On a 1, he also reduces his movement by d3 but can't shoot. On a 2 or 3, they increase their movement by d3 but can't shoot. On a 4 or 5, they increase their movement by d3 but can shoot. And on a 6, they increase their movement by d6 and can still shoot. In the shooting phase, because we're driving at high speed, you have to roll a d3 before you shoot, and then up consult the table and you might have to apply a modifier. So if you roll a 1, the unit gets -1 to hit. On a 2, they have no modifiers, and on a 3 they get +1 to hit. And in the fight phase, units can fight as long as they're within engagement range of an enemy model, but the player whose turn it is next gets to go first, so as it would be in a normal game. And here we have the 2 victory outcomes, so you can root for which side you want to. We'll get it set up and get straight into it. So here you can see our track, and we've included a bit more terrain just to delineate the areas that aren't part of the circuit. So that's the 3 rectangles in the middle and that one in the top left that aren't part of the track. We have our contestants set up at the start line, so you can get a nice closer look at our new Snazzwagon and the Space Marine Chaplain. And it doesn't say who goes first, but I think it makes sense for the Orks to go first. It's part of the narrative, and otherwise the Chaplain will just drive over and whack them with his Crozius. So we enter lap 1.
Well, the Snazzwagon is going to supercharge because why would I not want to go faster? So I'll roll a d6 to see what happens. A 5.
So that's faster, so increased movement by d6.
But they cannot shoot, but their extra movement is 3, so it can go up to 15 inches.
So the Snazzwagon zooms off into the lead, although really it's the only member of this race. The Chaplain is just trying to stop it from driving around arbitrarily. But because it moved so fast, it can't shoot this turn. So we'll be on to the Space Marine turn. So despite that supercharge, the Snazzwagon's base is so huge that the Chaplain can still keep up with it fairly easily. So he's going to drive up to be just over an inch away. I'm not going to try and melee at it yet. I've got 3 laps to get on with it. We're just going to try and shoot. He does get to use his Catechism of Fire on it though. So I have to roll a d3 because I might get a potential negative, although I am already at -1 because of the fumes. So the extra -1 for ducking and weaving doesn't apply. Then it's 2 shots on 4s. Getting a hit, and it wounds on a 5, but re-rolling because twin linked, and a 6 would be devastating. So re-roll that 4 into a 4, so no wounds. And that'll be the end of the turn, back around to the Orks.
Well, we're going to supercharge again. A 6, so I can go extra d6 and still shoot, so extra movement is 2. So that's enough to get the Snazzwagon round the first corner, but because I rolled a 6, it can still shoot, so I'm going to unload all the guns that are in range anyway into the Chaplain. So to roll a d3 on the shooting table to see what happens. 2 on the d3 is no modifier. So we'll start with the big shooter. It is in rapid fire range because it's a 36 inch range. So it'll be 5 shots hitting on 5s. 2 wounding on 4s because the Chaplain is toughness 5. 1 wound with no AP.
With a 3+ save. Failed, so he takes a wound already. He's down to 4.
The Grot Blaster is not in range because it's only 12, and it also means the Mech Special is not in rapid fire range because it's a 24 inch range, and we're not within 12. So it'll only have 12 shots, which are hitting on 5s, but they are sustained hits 1. We've got 1 normal hit and 3 6s, so that will be 7 hits. Also wounding on 4s. 4 wounds at -1.
Yeah, but I have got cover from those crates, assuming they provide cover. So 3s. Failed another one, he's down to 3. So this turn Chaplain's going to supercharge, try and make sure he keeps up with the Snazzwagon, see if I can get into melee range, because I think he might have more success there than with shooting. But he rolls 1, so he reduces his movement by d3, 3. So you're going to go 9 inches and you can't shoot. So Chaplain's starting to lag behind. Clearly that shooting damaged his bike in some way. Back around to the Orks.
We're going to supercharge again. 4.
Yeah, so that's increased by d6 and can't shoot.
It'll be an extra 5 inches, so we're going 17. While taking that corner at some speed, to pull out a bit of a lead now, but can't shoot.
Back around to the Chaplain. Going to have to supercharge again to try and keep up. Off rolls a 1 again. And another -3 movement. Right, at this rate, the Chaplain might find himself lapped. So we're back around to the Orks.
Supercharging again. A 5. It's another d6 extra movement with no shooting. A 3.
So the Snazzwagon's made it to the chicane. So Chaplin's going to try supercharging once again. Oh, a 6. Right, he's got the hang of this now. He gets an extra 3 inch movement as well, so he goes 15. Chaplain manages to catch up a little bit, because he doesn't have to take the corner quite so wide on his bike. He does still get to shoot, and he's just over 6 inches away, so he doesn't get the penalty for the fumes, although I still need to roll on the shooting table. So D3 roll. Ooh, that's perfect driving, so he gets +1 to hit. So he's hitting on 2s. He still manages to miss once. 1 hit, which wounds on a 5, re-rolling. Nope. And nope. So that'll be it. Back around to the Orks.
Supercharge roll is a 2, so that's an extra d3 and they can't shoot. An extra 2 inches.
Nearly onto the back straight for the Snazzwagon. Space Marine's going to have to supercharge again. Gets another 1. Loses another 2 inches of movement, so he only goes 10. Perhaps the Chaplain has decided to take the chicane at a more circumspect pace, as we're back to the Orks.
Supercharge, a 5, that's a d6 but no shooting. An extra 6.
So doing a sick drift around the final corner as the Snazzwagon nearly crosses the line to finish the first lap. Back to the Chaplain. See if he can actually roll something other than a 1 or a 6 on the supercharge table. No, another 1. Losing an inch of movement. Something clearly very wrong with the Chaplain's bike. He only seems to go at max speed or no speed. Back around to the Orks.
So our supercharge roll, of course, is a 2, so that's d3 but no shooting. And that will be an extra 3 inches.
And the Snazzwagon crosses the start-finish line, and we're into lap 2. Well, Chaplin's going to have to try and catch up, or maybe he could just slow down and be lapped at this rate. Well, he didn't get a 1. A 5 for the Chaplain is an extra d3, an extra 1 inch, so 13, but he can still shoot. So Chaplain finally makes it to the back straight. He is just about in range to shoot at the Snazzwagon at least. And rolling a d3, he gets a 1, so he's got -1 to hit. Hitting on 4s, both hit though. Wounding on 5s, re-rolling. Oh, 1 wound. 1 wound at -1.
Yeah, it wasn't devastating because he wasn't in range for Catechism of Fire, so we just have a 5+ armor save, which has succeeded on. So back round to the Orks and we'll make a supercharge roll. Oh, it's a 1. It's their first mishap. So -d3 inches of movement, but they can still shoot. -1.
Perhaps that wounding shot put off the Ork driver as he slowed down a bit to take the first turn, but the Orks are still able to shoot and are just about in range with the big shooter and the mech special.
Rolling on the shooting table. Oh, a 3 is +1 to hit.
Yep.
So the big shooter has 3 shots at this range on 4s now. It's still only 1 hit. And did wound.
No AP, so a 3+. No, down to 2 wounds.
And the mech special on 4s with sustained hits. Well, there is a 4 in there and 1 sustained. So 6 hits, wounding on 4s, 2.
-1 AP and no cover this time, so 4+ saves. He fell both and dies. So the Chaplain is defeated, which I think sort of sums up his entire race, really. So we probably have got time to do another round. Maybe the next Chaplain will have a better time of it. So we reset the board and head into lap 1.
Well, we're going to carry on supercharging. A 5 is +d6 with no shooting, 3.
Snazzwagon gets up alongside the train. And the Chaplain, I'm just going to move him normally, but I'm going to move him into melee range this time to see if he has a better time there. The Chaplain does technically have a pistol which he can shoot in melee, so he gets to roll on the table. So that -1 to hit doesn't matter because it's already a -1 to hit. Hits on a 4, no.
But because it's the Chaplain's turn and there's no charge bonuses, the Orks get to fight first. The Snazzwagon has 4 attacks that hit on 4s in melee. Only 1. It is strength 7, so it will be winning on a 3. It did, and it has -1 AP.
So 4+. Made it. That's good, it would be 2 damage. Well, the Chaplain himself normally would hit on 2s, but he hits on 3s because of all the fumes still affect him. And he hits 4 times. Strength 6, so still wounding on 5s. Nothing. And there we are, back around to the Orks.
And I can just freely move out of melee without needing to fall back, so we're going to supercharge again. A 1, oh dear. minus D3. 1, but they can still shoot.
So, trying to zoom off ahead, but the Orks can still shoot when they roll a 1 on the supercharged table.
Rolling on the shooting table. Oh, a -1 to hit. So the big shooter has 5 shots, but they do hit on 6s now. So none of them do. The Grot Blaster hits on a 5, as it is in range. Nope. And 16 shots with the mech special, hitting on 6s, but those 6s will be sustained. 6 6s, there's actually 12 hits, wounding on 4s. 5 wounds.
We have got cover from the crates and barrels, so 3+ armor saves, but you made them all. The Chaplain doesn't need to supercharge to keep up, so he's going to drive up into melee range again. Does still get to shoot with this pistol though. And he gets no modifier, but he still has -1. He hits this time, wounds on a 5. Oh, it does. So that would be mortal damage, which I think is 2.
Yeah, with the Absolver Bolt pistol, it's 2 damage. So it's down to 7. But in melee, the Snazzwagon gets to hit back first. 4 attacks on 4s, 2 hits. 3s to wound, 2.
So 4s, made them both. 5 attacks back from the Chaplain on 3s. 4 hits, wounding on 5s. Ooh, 2 wounds at -1.
So 2 5+ saves. Fail both. That's actually 4 damage. It's down to 3.
So this Chaplain's clearly much better than the previous one. He's actually managed to damage it. The Snazzwagon quite heavily now, but it's their turn. Or perhaps they'll be able to speed away.
Supercharge roll is a 5. That's plus D6 with no shooting. +1. They're not getting too far away, really.
Back around to the Chaplain. Still able to keep up just by moving normally. This supercharging thing didn't seem to work out very well for the Space Marines. Gets another pistol shot. Again, no modifier, but it's already at -1. Misses. Then the Orks get to try and run him over before he gets to strike.
On 4s, oh, they all miss.
Ooh. 5 attacks from 3s from the Chaplain. 3 hits. Wounded on 5s. Another wound at -1.
5+. Oh, made it this time. Well, they will drive off again. They roll a 1. Oh dear, that's minus movement, but they do get to shoot. It's -3 movement.
Snazzwagon then clearly has to slow down to take the corner. They still do get to shoot at the Chaplain though, and he probably doesn't have cover from that angle.
Rolling on the shooting table. Oh, it's a 3, so that's +1 to hit. Big shooter then on 4s. 2 hits. And 1 wound.
The 3+ save. Made it.
Grot Blaster. Misses. And the mech special on 4s. 6s are sustained. Didn't roll enough dice there. There's another shot, which also hit. So that'd be 11 hits. And 4 wounds at -1.
4+ saves. Failed 1. Once again, we don't need to supercharge, so we won't. Getting up into melee range. Still shoot the pistol though. Oh, with +1 to hit, so ignore the negative. Hits on a 3, it does. 5s to wound, no wounds. Then the Orks get to try and run him over.
On 4s. Oh, they all missed again.
Oh. The Chaplain, 5 attacks on 3s, they all hit. Wounded on 5s, 1 wound at -1.
5+. Made it.
So I'll give you an idea of how far we are. We're only just around turn 2 in this race. And as the Orks go to try and drive away.
They rolled another 1. He's clearly damaged it quite badly. -2 inches of movement. So not managing to put much distance between them, but they do get to shoot back again. With -1 to hit this time. So the big shooter on 6s gets a hit. And a wound.
The 3+ save. Yep.
The Grot on a 5 hits. Wounds on a 5 because it's strength 3. No. And the mech special on 6s, which are sustained. So there you go, that's a more reasonable roll. 2 hits. 4s, 1 wound.
And -1, so 4+. Made it. We still don't need to supercharge to keep up, so once again we'll just drive up to the back of the Snazzwagon and shoot it with our pistol. No modifier, but still -1. Hits on a 4. Does he get run over this time?
4s. Ah, there we go. 3 hits, wounding on 3s. Oh, just 1.
Oh, 4+. Failed, so he takes 2 damage down to 2. 5 attacks back from the Chaplain at -1, so 3s, getting 4. And 5s. 3 wounds at -1.
Oh, 5s. Oh no, it succeeded on 2, so it's down to 1. Well,
will either of these vehicles make it an entire lap? And we're back around to the Orks.
making a supercharge roll. A 3 is plus D3, plus 1 inch, and no shooting.
So Chaplin's going to be a little bit more circumspect. I'm just going to move to be an inch away because I only need to get 1 wound through, so I might be able to fish for it with Catechism of Fire. So just shooting with the bolt rifles this time. And with -1, but it already has -1. So we've got 2 shots on 4s that both hit. Just need to roll those 2 6s again. Wounding on 5s, re-rolling because I'm twin linked. Oh, but there's a mortal wound.
Yes, so it definitely is destroyed, and it might explode on a 6, which doesn't matter, but it'd be fun anyway. No, it didn't.
So the Snazzwagon presumably veers off and crashes into that tyre barrier, and that'll be a Space Marine victory. But that gives you a good idea of this game, so we'll recap both of these for you now. Well, those were 2 games for issue 59 of Warhammer 40,000 Combat Patrol magazine. How do you think that went?
Well, it's difficult to know what to make of that, to be honest. We had 2 extremes. We had a game where the Chaplain couldn't make any armour saves and just got shot to bits, and then we had one where he made almost all of his armour saves and bashed the Snazzwagon to bits in melee, mostly. So it's rather difficult to sum up.
I mean, it's perhaps not the best showcase of the Snazzwagon, but it is a very cool idea for a scenario, and it's very orky, very reminiscent of the old Gork and Walker.
Yeah, it was good fun, yeah.
Obviously, you can see its speed, but it's not very durable at all. Though it's got a high toughness, and if anything gets through, its armour is very poor.
And actually, it is only toughness 7, so it will resist small arms fire and things, but something with an actual anti-tank weapon will damage it quite easily. It's not going to survive much shooting from, say, the Havocs or the Wraithguard or something.
Yeah, and it would be interesting to compare it to the Defcopters. Fairly similar roles. This is certainly more an anti-horde, anti-infantry unit. Defcopters already were reasonably good against hordes in melee and good against bigger things with shooting, so, I mean, really just hoping the mech special rolls lots of 6s, although sustained.
Yeah, it does have a lot of shooting, and it's not terrible in melee. You could charge it into something that can't fight back very effectively.
Yeah, I would say the main issue with it compared to the Defcopters is that it's lower overall OC. I think it's lower wounds overall, and not being able to fly and having an absolutely enormous base on a combat patrol sized board might make it difficult to actually manoeuvre around.
Yes, and it also makes it rather difficult to measure, as we found out going around corners, figure out exactly how far it's moved because it was turning round. You don't technically have to turn models, but for a race it would have been silly not to. Yeah, personally I don't actually really like the fact that it's on a base. It looks really good as though it were a diorama, and you could definitely put more on the base to make it look more interesting, but as an actual gaming model I generally prefer vehicles not to be on bases. And for example, we will be getting the Genestealer Colt's Rock Grinder, which is of similar size, and it doesn't have a base, so it's a little bit inconsistent. I think it's on a base because this was originally released as part of a board game called Speed Freeks, where there were several vehicles, and so giving them all a base meant that the rules worked the same with all of them equally. But for 40k it's quite unusual to have a non-flying, non-bike type vehicle on a base.
Yeah, especially a base of that size as well.
And I do really like the model. There's a lot of character in it. You can't actually see a lot of it because there's a lot of interior detail that once you put it together you have to look inside to find, and if you didn't paint any of that it probably wouldn't be that noticeable. But it was fun to paint all the little details inside. There's empty beer bottles, or maybe they're supposed to be more Molotov cocktails, empty beer cans.
Yeah, it gives it a very Mad Max, grungy, Wasteland Raider kind of feel. It even has the grot on the front as a tribute to Mad Max Fury Road, I believe it is.
Yeah, and I did leave the grot off the front, as you might have noticed, because I actually preferred the silhouette without it there. But I have plans for that grot. It'll be attached to something one day. Well, and the crew are quite characterful as well. There's the Gretchen hanging out the window shooting backwards. The 2 orcs are about to chuck flaming Molotovs at people. One of them hanging out the window to do so.
Yeah, and it is sort of part of a set with another 5 or 6 similar vehicles that all came out around the same time. I do think the kit does have enough bits that if you had multiple of them, you can make them all look unique. And this is a very good savings issue as well, because you got this over one issue. Whereas I think these vehicles are actually fairly expensive.
Yeah, I think these are probably 37 or 30 or 40 pounds individually, and you get this in a single issue, so it's pretty much a quarter of the price, I think.
Yeah, and given their points cost, they are very expensive as well, I believe. But I suppose also it is the kind of vehicle that you could get away with scratch building your own. Since it has a set base size, you can just get a base and sort of do whatever you want within that base limit. Perhaps that's better from a modelling perspective.
Yeah, there's always been a strange thing with Ork. Vehicles should all be completely individual and fairly ramshackle, but on the other hand they have to have rules that make sense. So you get this weird thing where if you have multiple Boomdakka Snazzwagons, they all have exactly the same equipment, and if you bought 2 of this model they would be identical if you didn't convert it in any way. But on the other hand, you could do completely scratch-built vehicles, but then it might be difficult to tell exactly which vehicle is which. You'd have to explain it all carefully to your opponent. So there's always been a slight tension in the Ork range between personalisation and making the vehicles usable.
And I guess as a bonus unit to the Orks, I don't really feel like it filled a role that they didn't have.
I suppose the Ork range is huge, and so there are all sorts of things you could have added as the bonus unit. I don't think there's really a bad choice. Although they are one of the combat patrols that might have actually benefited from a character who can join a boys unit. So a character in the case of the Orks might not have been a bad idea. Unlike, say, the Space Marines where they have 3 characters and 2 units now. But anyway, we'll certainly try it out the next time the Orks get to play a combat patrol game, see how it fits in.
But otherwise, I don't think there's too much more to say about the Snazzwagon, or this game, or this issue. So as always, if you like this content, do leave a like and subscribe, and leave any comments, how you've been getting on with your collections, or if you use the Snazzwagon in your own game. We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and I'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.